finding money is a lot easier than what it used to be. So, and finding properties maybe a little bit more difficult than what it used to be, depending upon your market. So for our listeners, guys, depending upon where you are, and that's in both respects, but that flip part remains pretty consistent. It's challenging. So let's talk about that. Everybody has a, hey, this was easy peasy. And then someone has, or everyone also has like, oh no, we do not want to do that again. Good morning, and great morning, guys. Welcome to another fabulous episode of Exit Strategies radio show, guys. Hey, I am your host, Corwyn J. Millett, broker and owner of Exit Realty Low Country Group in beautiful North Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, if this is your first time listening to this show, you, sir or ma'am, are in for a treat. That is because our mission is very simple, guys. It is to empower our community through financial literacy and real estate education, guys. We're legacy building. That is what we do. Always tell you, when you're out here doing these things, when you're making these moves, when you're using these strategies that we employ, that we talk about, discuss, and otherwise share on this show to make things happen for not only for you and your family, yet for generations to come, because you know that word tells us that inheritance for our children's children, so forth and so on. But generations yet to come, guys, I want you to put that hashtag thing, on that social media thing. And we want you to tell people that you're legacy building, because that's what you're doing. Got to shout out the people that listen to us faithful, Hollywood, what you know, no good, all the way to Monkey's Corner in the Charleston region, guys. You know, my mama live out there, and I love y'all guys. Look here, Elder and Vanderbilt Evans Sr. Got to put him first. Because look here, he'll jack me up for that too. But if I don't put that senior on, that guy will jack me up. Love you so much. Thank you for listening to the Q family that tunes in. Guys, thank you so much for listening. My folks in Muddy Mullins, Marion County, South Carolina, the PD region, Dillon, Florence, love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And guys, today is one of those shows that I got my own pen and paper out. I'm over here ready to take notes because look here, we got a guru today. I'm talking about when you go to the dictionary and you get to them G's and then you get down there to that U, there's this big picture of this guy right there, because it just takes up that whole space. Wherever the GU start, that's where he is. And that's none other than Brandon Rickman. Now, Brandon is with, look here, y'all gonna love this. He is with Simply Sold Atlanta. Now, Brandon taught my language. You know, the word what tells you about speaking various language and interpreting and all that stuff. That guy speaks my language. He talks real estate, but he taught money, and he taught how to use the two and put the two together and make them multiply on their own. Woo! I love it. I'm so excited for this conversation. Brandon, welcome to Exit Strategies radio show. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much, Corwyn. I'm glad to be here. Appreciate you having me on. And with an introduction like that, man, I need you introducing me every time I get on something. That's amazing.
Well, look here, I'm always available, and especially for good people like you. So I'm definitely available. Just let me know and I will be there. I might even show up dressed outlandishly just to make sure they don't miss you. How about that? Good deal.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So Brandon, thank you, man, for being on with us today. If you don't mind, man, high level overview, who you are, what you do, you and your companies, and let's get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, I live in Atlanta, born and raised in Atlanta, spent a few years in Athens, go Dogs. Sorry about that. But Bulldog fan. And I've been married for 24 years. So very proud of that. I have a 15-year-old son. My wife and I just have one son. Basketball player. I'm a basketball coach. So really from a career standpoint, I grew up, my dad was a builder and a developer. And so my brother and I grew up around real estate and construction. My dad was kind of old school. So he taught us from the beginning, like, this is how you dig a footing. This is how you pour concrete. This is how you roof a house. This is how you hang sheetrock. Mm-hmm. So we kind of grew up in the industry. And then after college, I jumped out and started doing it on my own. And basically at the end of the day, what we do primarily is we flip houses. We own rental properties, buy and sell rental properties, but we flip houses and then teach other people how to flip houses. So we teach them how to find properties, because most of our stuff is either working with an agent or off market. So we teach them how to find, fund, and flip their next property.
Let's take a short break.
Do you remember your grandma's front porch? You know, that spot where stories were told, kisses were stolen, and sweet tea was always being sipped. Now imagine giving your family a place to make those same memories, but in a brand new, energy efficient, and home that was built just for you. At Country Boy Homes, we help folks just like you find that forever feeling. Whether it's your first home, your next home, or we're done with rent forever, like seriously home. We specialize in affordable and durable manufactured and modular homes, the kind that make room for muddy boots, big dreams, and second helpings. Come see what coming home really feels like. Call 843-574-8979 today. Country Boy Homes, built to last, priced for you. Wow, that's a lot. I love it.
Yeah.
So let's get into that. Find, fund, and flip. Look here, hold on. Sort of, and you got the 3 F's there, man. I had to get my
That's
count
right.
stuff right. That's what I'm talking about. Now, Brandon, that is an interesting place where you are. And, on this show, we kind of talk about the entire range and gambit of that. So I'm going to start on the first part. If you don't mind, let's kind of touch on each of those, that fine part. Let's talk about it. Obviously, you've been doing this. And to be transparent, if you can even remember your first one, where did you find it? What was it?
Oh, yeah, I do remember it. I remember it well. So, our first flip that we did, it was in the neighborhood that we lived in. We noticed a house that was kind of run down and went up, knocked on the door, talked to the people that lived there. The parents were going into an assisted living facility. The house was completely run down and the kids were looking to sell it. So, we're able to buy the property. We did a lot of the work ourselves. Back then, my wife was a school teacher, math teacher. She's now a real estate agent, quickly moved over to my side of the equation. And I was working for a local builder in town. So I was building houses. Now, this was 25 years ago, 23 years ago. So a long time ago, 500 and something flips ago. But our very first one, we did most of the work ourselves. So we were in there like work 9 to 5, then come home and go over there and work at night, work on the weekends. We're laying tile. My wife will never lay tile again. She part of the project. But we finished it. It probably took us longer than it should have. And it ended up costing us more because we did all the work ourselves. We were trying to save money, but in retrospect, I'm not sure that we did. But we ended up selling it, making some money, and said, wow, this is great. Let's go do it again. So when we first started out, it was kind of onesie twosie. We had our full-time jobs and we were trying to make a little extra money on the side and did a deal a year, every other year, sometimes 2 a year, but really kind of started out small and then grew from there.
That's awesome. So funding, because, well, matter of fact, let me hover in that fine piece right there, because, oftentimes our listeners are kind of trying to figure out, Brandon, okay, what is a good idea? They see the house. You'd be surprised at how many times I get calls from clients that have an appetite, want to get into investing, and they drive past something, see something, they call me, hey, Cole, when I saw this, what do you think? And then they start to get, yeah, let's do it. And then they, oh, wait a minute, where am I going to get the money from? But you advise, I mean, granted, you've done it. So my question is, do you advise them trying to start in the local area immediate to them? Or should they be willing initially to kind of branch out a little bit further than that? I know this kind of worked out for you, but what do you advise for someone else who's looking? Where should they be targeting their options?
Yeah, it's a great question. I always recommend starting in your own market, especially if you're going to be flipping houses. Now, if you're buying rental properties, or certainly if you're just looking to flip the paper or do some type of wholesale deal, depending on what state you're in. Some states don't allow that anymore. But if you're going to be flipping, which I absolutely recommend, do it in your own market. And the reason is because you know the market, you know the school districts, you know the area, you know the values. And in every city, similar to Atlanta, if I'm in this school district, there's a value. But if I go 2 streets over to a different school district, the value is tremendously different. And I know that because I live here and I know I see the difference. So part of finding the property, what I tell everybody, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to call 5 real estate agents a day for the next 4 weeks. And I want you to tell those real estate agents, my name's Brandon. I'm a real estate investor. I'm looking for some property that I can add value to, that I can rehab and that I can resell. Not looking for something to buy myself. If you come across anything or if you know of anything that makes sense, please let me know. And you'd be surprised how many deals we get from agents and brokers who know of someone who doesn't want to list a property, or they have it listed and it hasn't sold. So we're able to go in and make them an offer. And then in addition to that, once they've started with that, they've gotten used to having conversations with agents and brokers. Then we teach off market strategies as well, such as direct mail, cold calling, texting, bandit signs, pay per click, some of the other off market strategies. And really, it's finding those properties that you can rehab, add value to, and then resell and make money on.
So, Brandon, one thing I just heard you say as an underlying current to what your information you were putting out there is that this is a lot of work. A lot of times people think real estate investing and real estate is easy. They think it doesn't require work, it doesn't require significant effort. It just kind of miraculously just happens. So you just rattle off a good bit of stuff there, guy, that people should be thinking about doing, employing their strategies in order to really build a sustainable business. Yes, no?
Yes, absolutely. And I was talking to someone yesterday, and you know this as well as I do. Entrepreneur, this particular person said, "Hey, so you flip houses full time? You don't like have to work at all? You just flip houses full time?" And I kind of laughed and I said, "Well, as an entrepreneur, we're the only people who quit our 9 to 5 so we can work 5 to 9," which I did finish my last meeting last night at 9:15 p.m. So it does happen, but I have a lot of flexibility in the day too. But I think if people want to just do a deal on the side once a year, make an extra 30, 40, 50,000, keeping their full-time job, I think that's fine. But what I coach people to do, what I encourage people to do because of my story is I hated a 9 to 5. I didn't want somebody telling me what time I have to come in, what time I have to leave. I get 2 weeks of vacation a year. Here's how much you're going to get paid. I wanted to be in control of that. I wanted to be able to travel, spend time with my family, have financial freedom and time freedom. And so I built it into a business. And so that's what we kind of coach people is we're going to start small. We're going to teach you how to do it. But at the end of the day, we want you, if you choose to, we want you to have the ability to turn this into a real business and build it into a successful money making, end up hiring a couple employees and build a real business out of it, not just a hobby.
That is very fair. So let's get on to that second F. And thank you so much for sharing that because we always try to give people the real here. Again, we're unscripted, we're very open dialogue, and we want people to understand that there's a lot of work that goes into being an entrepreneur, being in this particular arena space. So, funding. Where do people find funding for stuff like this? What are the options? What options do you guys have that you may have that's available to assist people?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny too, those 3 F's, the find, fund, and flip, those are the 3 most difficult things in flipping houses is finding the property, number one. How am I going to finance it? And those are the questions we get the most. Like, well, how are you supposed to find a house? So that's the find. How am I supposed to pay for it? Fund. And then flip is how am I going to do the work? So those are the 3 things we focus on. But the funding side of it, I break it up into 3 buckets. And so the first bucket I call institutional funding. So that is working with a bank, working with a mortgage broker. In that situation, typically your interest rates are going to be lower than one of the other 2 buckets, 6, 7%, 7.5% right now. But the bank is going to require W-2s. They're going to require tax returns. They're going to require a lot of different documentation. It's going to take them 30 or 45 days to approve you. So in that scenario, you've got to have a job. You got to be making enough money to pay your own bills, but then also be able to cover this new property you're going to build or rehab. So they're not as easy to work with. So in certain cases, I think it's great, especially if you're buying a rental property and you want a long-term loan, like a 30-year fixed loan, a DSCR loan, then I think that's a great option. But the other 2 buckets, the next bucket is what we call hard money lending. And there's hard money lending companies all over the country. And so basically what they do is they pool money from a bunch of different investors. So investors will give them 100,000, 150,000, 200,000, and that hard money lender is paying them 8, 9% return. And then that hard money lender will turn around and lend to flippers at 12% or 13%. So higher interest rate. However, they don't require all the W-2s, tax records, all of that information that a bank requires. So they're a little bit more flexible and they have a big pot of money that they're willing to loan out as long as your property meets their requirements. The third bucket, which I like the most, is called private lending. And so private lending is people who know, like, and trust you. So it could be a family member, it could be a friend. Their interest rates are negotiable, but if they know you and they like you, they'll say, okay, pay me 10% or 11% or 12%. A lot of times they'll also give you the full amount purchase plus rehab. So when you're working with a bank, they're only going to give you 80%. You're going to have to come to the table with 20% of the total cost. With a
Mhm.
hard money lender, you're probably going to have to come with about 10%. And with a private lender, many times you don't have to come with anything to the table.
Mhm.
So I love working with private lenders. They're very flexible. We have private lenders that we've done business with for so many years. They trust us. They know we're going to pay them back. They
Mhm.
just wire us the money and not even require any kind of documentation or anything.
Mhm.
So a lot of the questions that we get are around that. They don't know anything other than institutional banks. They're not
Mhm.
aware of hard money lenders. Then they're not aware of private lenders. And
Mhm.
so we help them understand, here's some other options. We give them a list of hard money lenders that we work with. Hey, call these
Mhm.
people, tell them that Brandon sent you, and
Mhm.
or I'll make a warm connection and they'll talk to you about giving you a loan as well. So those are kind of the three options that we teach people about for funding their flip.
So you touched on a few things in there, Brandon. First and foremost, oftentimes people they don't get the difference. And what I mean by that, I want to buy investment property. I own a property, got car payment, got credit card payments, et cetera. My debts are what they are. I see this property. I may have some money saved, so I have the money for the down payment. And they don't understand that you just can't go out and buy that without having, if you're buying from a tradition or using a traditional lender for financing, you got to qualify for that house like you're qualifying for your own with your
Mhm.
own. So you may not be able to get it to fit in a debt ratio. How do you articulate that to the consumer? Because most times, most people starting out, once you've done this a bit and get acclimated, then it's easier to qualify. One, you got more money. You may have used that money. I've had several clients over the years that do investing that have paid off mortgages. Like they
Mhm.
paid off their house, paid off all the other debt. So technically they could easily go to the bank and get money now because they don't have any debt. But how do you articulate to someone, especially someone who's beginning and may not be able to get traditional finance or get money from the bank for a project that they're after?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to walk before you run in that scenario, like you're saying. Exactly. You kind of start small and build from there. I ask what their particular circumstance is. So, do you have 10% that you can put down? If you're going to buy a $200,000 house, you're going to spend 50,000 on the rehab. That's 250. Do you have 25 grand that you can put down plus your closing costs? So maybe 30 grand. If they
Mm,
have that, then it's pretty easy for them to work with a hard money lender. If they
mm,
don't have that, then the other option is to find a private lender who's willing to loan them all or most of the money. And they
mm,
can always bring in another partner to put up some of the difference in cash. So we have a lot of times where we'll have someone who is the person who's finding the house and running the numbers, negotiating, get it under contract, but they don't have any cash sitting around. They
mm.
can qualify with a hard money lender, but they've got to come up with 10% cash. So they'll then partner with someone else who has a full-time job, has good income, and maybe has 50, 75, $100,000 in the bank and bring them in as a 10 or 15% partner. That
Mm.
person puts up to 10% cash, then allows them to do the deal with the hard money lender.
So the last part of this is the flip part, and finding money is a lot easier than what it used to be. So, and finding properties maybe a little bit more difficult than what it used to be,
Mhm.
depending upon your market. So, for our listeners,
Yeah.
guys, depending upon where you are, and that's in both respects. But that flip part remains pretty consistent. It's challenging. So let's talk about that. Everybody has a, hey, this was easy peasy. And then someone has, or everyone also has, like, oh no, we do not want to do that again. So,
Yeah.
Brandon, if you don't mind, give us your, oh no, we do not want to do that again.
Well, I think part of it is, like I said before, doing all the work myself. I do not want to do that again. So finding the good contractors, and for flipping the house, the flip portion of that, what we do is obviously we have contractors that we work with that we've worked with for many years in our local market. So we have people that we can refer out. But in other markets, I'll tell people contact other flippers, other investors who are in your town, ask them who some of their contractors that they work with are. Would they recommend them? If you see a house being worked on or being flipped, go up and talk to those contractors. At the end of the day, I mean, the best thing you can do is get a reference from someone. Hey, this is a contractor we work with that does a really good job, and then work with them. You go through, it's part of this business. If you're going to flip houses, you're going to go through some contractors until you find the ones who will do what you want, when you want. They'll stick to their budget, they'll stick to their time frame. So it takes work. It's like any other business. If you want to play at it, you're going to get a play return. If you want to build it and you want to be serious and you want to have a business and you want to make a lot of money, then you'll get a bigger return. And so you get out of it what you put into it. And We actually have a national general contractor that we work with on some of our flips, and they flip houses all over the country. So, yeah, it's huge. And so we'll do our own budget, and then we'll have a general contractor, whether it's this national company or one of our local guys, go into the house with us, and we'll point out, we want to change this, we want to move this wall, we want new cabinets, we want granite countertops. Tell them all the stuff we want to do. They give us a quote for what it's going to cost, and then we put that into our budget to know how much it's going to cost us to actually flip the house.
That is awesome, man. That gives you consistency. So sometimes, when I'm talking to investors, newer investors, I always have this conversation about getting to essentially your blueprint, and we replicate. I had a investor client, a number of years ago, and he would buy the same kind of houses. He used to focus on buying USDA houses. They usually did the same configuration or similar. Sometimes they had a half bath, sometimes they didn't have a second bath. But regardless, he knew, because he had done so many of them, he knew how much it was going to cost him to convert into a full bath. He knew how much flooring he needed, because they were usually the same size. And he put the same flooring, same light fixtures, same plumbing fixtures in, and had a guy, him and another guy would go in and do the work. So that consistency allows you to get to that. So is that what you guys do? You guys kind of have, okay, this is kind of our standard package on flooring, on fixtures, et cetera, and focus on the same types of properties?
That's it. You got it. So I would say the properties, depending on the size. So we don't do as many high end flips, like over $1 million anymore. We have done some of those. And I just think there's a smaller pool of buyers, and you sit on the loan longer waiting on a buyer. I had a flashback, some PTSD to some of those high end houses that we flipped over the years, sitting for 6 months at, $10,000 a month. But we do. So most of the houses we do are kind of in the 250 to 450 range. I think there's a larger pool of buyers for those. And so most of the time we're using the same finishes. We have a selection board that we use for each of our properties, where we've picked out the type of doors we want, the light fixtures we want, the faucets, the countertop, the type of cabinets, who we order it from. So we have all of that already built out, and we might change it a little bit if we decide we don't like a light fixture, or we want to change the doorknobs in this house. So we have a little bit of flexibility, but I would say 90% of it is standard, and we give it to the general contractor. Here's what we want to use, and it's your responsibility. Here's where you order it from. That's part of their quote to actually order the material. So we're not having to do that. But yeah, we give them that selection sheet, and we try to use as much of the same stuff as possible, just to make it easily replicable. And so we can go do it again and again.
Well, and it's a signature. I mean, to an extent, when you walk in the house, or somebody walks in the house, they know it was done by your group. They know, and they recognize the quality becomes a standard. So that's very neat. Now, Brandon, we're quickly getting to the end of today's show. But I do want to make sure I touch on this, because you guys coach people in this arena as well, don't you?
We do, yes. So the Flip Genius is our coaching business. So my 30-second spiel, when somebody says, well, what do you guys do? We flip houses actively, and we coach other people how to do it. And so, like I mentioned before, we've been flipping houses in the Atlanta market for 25 years, almost 25 years, and we've flipped over 500 houses. So we have a lot of experience. And I believe, personally, my belief is that I have that experience and that knowledge because that's how God chose to bless me. And so I want to share that knowledge with other people. And so years ago, I did kind of the live coaching events where people would come into the room that you hear a lot about, and people were paying ridiculous amounts of money to learn how to flip houses. And at the end of the day, I didn't love that business model, because most of the people were paying $50,000 a year to learn how to flip houses. And I just didn't sleep well at night, knowing that some of these people were going to get all the information, but maybe not find a house, or maybe not make that money back. So basically what I did is I quit doing that business model. I took all of that content information and I created it into a video series. And so we have a couple different coaching programs, but we have a basic, like 7 videos and some downloadable content. It's kind of our starter package, which people can watch and learn how to get into it, watch those videos in their own time, do it, learn how to get into real estate and kind of educate themselves. Then we have a full package, which is all the videos, all the downloadable content, everything we used to teach people in a whole year curriculum. And it's a couple $100 instead of all $50,000 a year. And then we also have one which includes live calls with me once a week. So a couple different packages based on where people are in their journey, in their real estate journey. at the end of the day, we want to help people wherever they are, go from where they are to where they want to get to, help them achieve their goals. And like I said when we started, my goal was to leave my 9 to 5 grind and have time freedom and financial freedom. And we were able to do that through real estate. And we want to try to share that knowledge and blessing with other people and help them if that's what they choose to do.
Awesome. Now, Brandon, that's a great place, man, for your contact information. How can people get in contact with you, your group, and otherwise connect with you?
Yeah. So they can reach me at Brandon at the Flip Genius, like the sign back here. So Brandon, Brandon at the Flip Genius. That comes directly to me. I respond to all my emails. And then on our website, theflipgenius.com, there is a Calendly link where they can schedule a call with me, kind of talk through where they are, what they're interested in doing. And it's not a fit for everybody. Not everybody wants to do it, and that's fine. But we want to be able to help however we can. And sometimes that's saying, I don't think you're ready for this. Maybe you should try this. And sometimes it's bringing them on board as one of our clients. So really feel free to reach out to me. Any questions, any concerns, you want me to look at a property and give you an idea of an estimate, happy to do whatever I can to help.
Awesome. Awesome. So, Brandon, my mic drop question, if you will, that hindsight one, if you could go back, you've had some experiences. I'm pretty sure there's been some amazing times. There's been some times that you probably question your whole existence. Knowing what you know now, if you can go back and do it again, what would you have done differently?
Probably just listen to my wife every time she said something and just go with whatever she said. I'm joking.
Document that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Although that would be pretty good. No, we work together. We have a great relationship and love working together. But I would say, honestly, if I could go back, I would never sell any of the houses that I had bought. We've had a lot of rental properties. We've sold a lot of rental properties. We've flipped a lot of houses. I consider flipping houses transactional. And even when we used to do new construction, it's kind of transactional. You find the house or the lot, you build a new house and sell it, or you flip a house and sell it. You got to go find another deal. And it can provide good income. So that's great. But at the end of the day, certainly now as I have a son and thinking more about building a legacy, I want something that continues to provide income for us and for my son in years to come. And so really rental property, whether it's long-term rentals, short-term rentals, we have a self-storage facility now. So it's things like that you do the work up front and it continues to pay you for months and years to come. So yeah, if I could go back and change anything, I would have held all of those properties, rented them out, figured out how to keep them. I mean, I'd probably have several hundred rentals at this point. So that would be the one thing I would change for sure.
Wow. That's interesting. That's interesting. Brandon, we're going to have to get you back on the show and explore that a little bit more for sure, man. So thank you for that. Brandon, thank you so much, man, for taking time out your busy schedule today to be on with us. And most important, for dropping them nuggets, man. My pen has been hot over here and I've been mentally cataloging a bunch of stuff you said. So as a young folks, sometimes old folks may repeat, watch out they now, because we're coming out here to do something for real, for real.
Yeah.
So again, Thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Absolutely, Corwyn. Thanks for having me. And I appreciate it. It's great talking to you. And next time I'm up in the low country, I'll look you up and we'll go grab some seafood or something.
For sure, for sure, for sure. Matter of fact, I'm coming your way soon. So we'll definitely have to connect. Could definitely.
Let's do.
So for our listeners, guys, thank y'all so much for tuning in today. Y'all know how I feel. Y'all know what I say. Y'all know always put the two of those things together. And I give it to you this way, which is I tell you, I love you. I love you. And we're going to see you guys out there in those streets.